let's talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves in the offseason that they had. They re-signed Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They brought in Shake Milton and Troy Brown Jr. They drafted, who seems like could be a steal, Leonard Miller with the 33rd pick. They re-signed Naz Reid. All they lost was Taurean Prince, one would say, okay? And for me, I don't think that's been that bad of an offseason for them, okay? The team looks good, but the big question is, can the Wolves stay healthy enough to figure it out on the floor if this works? If not, we all know that Karl-Anthony Towns will be traded. Even though we would rather trade Rudy Gobert, the reason that we have to trade Karl-Anthony Towns is Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert. We gave up so much for Rudy Gobert, and we know trading Rudy Gobert, we can't get the assets that we gave up for him. So Karl-Anthony Towns, if healthy and shows that he can still be his old self, would give us those assets to recoup. But the recap of this offseason is we got more transition players and Troy Brown Jr., Leonard Miller. We kept our guys, Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Naz Reid, who are good guys who fit around, the core of Anthony Edwards, Towns, and Gobert. And when Gobert, Towns, and Edwards played, they only played 26 games together. They went 13-13. The offense was terrible, but the defense was spectacular when those three were on the floor. Okay? And yes, we didn't have a lot of chances of having the full squad together because of injuries. So, we have to wonder, is what we saw in the first round playoff exit, was that enough? Obviously, Gobert certainly has a positive impact on the defense, but Towns and Gobert together both clearly have their flaws. And we need to see 50 to 60 games of those two playing together to gauge what the potential ceiling of them is going to look like, as Edwards is a legitimate superstar who could be an MVP candidate, and we cannot let this opportunity for us to continue to build around Edwards pass, as this is the last year we can give Towns and Gobert a shot. And if it doesn't work, we got to trade Towns at the deadline or this offseason. And that's where I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't think it'll happen until next year, because I think you have to give him a whole season, which was the whole point of last year. But on paper, man, I think the Timberwolves they got a lot better. I think they made a lot of really, really good championship caliber moves. Nickeil Alexander-Walker at times in the Denver series it provided some really nice bursts. And obviously, as we all know, as Bruce Brown said, the Timberwolves were the hardest opponent that Denver played. So good spot to be in. But Shake Milton, Troy Brown Jr., great veteran pieces to have. Fill out your roster. Naz Reid, wasn't anticipating Naz Reid to go back to Minnesota, but the dude can get buckets in limited playing time. He's the perfect backup big to have. And Leonard Miller, it looks like how the hell was Leonard Miller not a first round draft pick? How is he not a lottery pick right now? That's more of a long-term play, but the Mike Conley move was great. So you have Mike Conley now, and yeah, you got your superstar in Anthony Edwards, and don't forget about Jaden McDaniels, who's a rising two-way star in the league. And so that makes him and Troy Brown Jr. make the loss of Taurean Prince probably better, actually. And I still have slow-mo Kyle Anderson, Chinese basketball legend. And I like their backup guards now. I love Jordan McLaughlin, but I like the addition of Shake Milton. Really, really, really good offseason for Minnesota. I would classify. They're a threat to me for sure.
So for me, right now the roster: Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Kyle Anderson, Troy Brown Jr., Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, Jordan McLaughlin, Leonard Miller, Shake Milton, Josh Minott, Wendell Moore Jr., Naz Reid, Karl-Anthony Towns with Luka Garza and Jalen Clark filling two of the three two-way spots. And Jalen Clark's a great pick. And the starting lineup, we assume Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Towns, and Gobert, with Shake Milton, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Troy Brown Jr., Kyle Anderson, and Naz Reid as the five-man rotation off the bench. And then probably Jordan McLaughlin, Wendell Moore, Josh Minott, Luka Garza, Leonard Miller, and Jalen Clark as all break-the-glass type guys, just in case. And I like this team because with, from Conley to Troy Brown Jr. to Anderson to McDaniels to Naz Reid are all very, very good defenders. Even Josh Minott and Jalen Clark. Anthony Edwards is a good defender too when he tries. Same thing with Nickeil Alexander and Shake. Okay, and then Gobert, of course, is a fucking defensive player of the year. And for me, I really do think this team has built a squad that fits around the core well, and that if they do have to pivot and make the new core Jaden McDaniels and Anthony Edwards, and maybe, Gobert as the third, I think it is possible that they do have the room to make those moves if they have to. I just like this. There's a lot of transition, not only on transition offense now, but a lot of transition defense, especially with Jaden McDaniels, Troy Brown Jr., Kyle Anderson. Like, those guys are going to wreak havoc on people on the perimeter, especially with Anthony Edwards. And Troy Brown Jr. during the 2022 to 23 Lakers, shout out Chris for this, was playing 24 and a half minutes a night, averaging 7.1 points a night, playing amazing defense. So I really like what was done here. It was a very quiet offseason in terms, like nothing shocking, but good moves. Thoughts?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the big question now is, though, is this team a first round exit, a second round exit? Can this team, compete for a championship, or will they just dominate the regular season like the Utah Jazz and then, have Rudy Gobert get exposed in the playoffs? Is the big question with this team, I think, right now.
42 wins last year. I think Mike Conley goes a long way with winning on this team in the playoffs. Anthony Edwards is going to be a big deal as well. You want, as Aaron's kind of saying here, I really want Anthony Edwards to kind of come in here as my vocal leader of my basketball team, because he's the franchise guy. But yeah, all I want if I'm Minnesota is the playoffs are obvious because you just did it with everything, that all the injuries last year. You need to win a playoff series, and if they don't win a playoff series, then change is coming.
I just don't get that. Like, with this team, I really like Jaden McDaniels. I really like Edwards. I just think I really like Chris Finch. I just think when I look at the squad, my problem is the fact that I get upset with, is Towns and our guy Gobert going to make it work? I don't know. Okay, I don't know, and I just it's hard to think that if it's going to work, because it just doesn't seem like it is. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Chris Finch is the greatest coach of all time and will make it work. But that's the big if.
If Cat's the greatest shooting big we've ever seen, like he says, then it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't if that's true. All right, before we start the games, let's see if there was anything else to talk about. There's this we can do real quickly. This was a thing that was